Welcome, viewers. This is Farrukh Siddiqui, your host, and you are watching Sports Trend. Today, we will be having a very good conversation with a person you all know, Ranjit Saini, the president of Cricket Canada. Ranjit Saini first elected as the president of Cricket Canada in 2019 till 2012. He came back as Cricket Canada as in 2014 as director, and in 2016 again he is elected as a president, and he is the cricket president till now. He has a lot of good things on his credit, especially international tours, HP program, GT20 Canada. For that, we are welcoming our guest for today, Mr. Ranjit Saini.
Hi, Farrukh. Thank you so much for arranging and inviting me for this conversation today. I also want to thank all your viewers for those who are joining now and those who will likely view the broadcast later. But overall, I'm very happy to be with you today.
Okay. Thank you. It is always our pleasure to have you on board, and people do get a lot of information about Canadian cricket through you. So let's start the program, and we'll start with your early life. How's your early life, and the people who really affected you in your life, and because of that, what you are today.
Well, Farrukh, I was born in a small village in Punjab, India, and a reasonably poor family. We had a joint family, myself with my brothers. We lived with our grandparents' house, and my father worked in Himachal. So I was raised in Hoshiarpur district until grade 4, and then we moved to Himachal. He finished my high school education in Himachal and moved back to Punjab for my college, and then a professional training in instrument technology at Chandigarh in the CSIU, which is the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, and spent 4 years there. So that was my early part of the education. And the upbringing, the early part of my life was very much affected by three people in my family, my grandparents who did not go to school ever in their life, and they were illiterate, but very, very, successful in their life. And my mother, who had epilepsy right from her, from the time I known her. So I spent almost all my childhood sitting with my mother in the evening in the kitchen while she cooked, and this is where I will do my homework for the school, because we feared that if she gets the fit, that she could fall into we had those, what we call our language, chula, the wooden stove, and so there was always a danger that she will get the epileptic fit while cooking, which she did get many times. But with God's help, I was able to save her most of the time. Accidents still happened, but once I left the high school and went to study in college, until then she was okay. My grandparents, because there was poverty in the house, they will go to this seasonal river, we call it cho in our language, and so he will pick up fruits and wood to burn in the stove, and he'll pick up berries from those what we call bear in our language. These are bush berries that have very sharp nail type stuff on it. So he would break those and bring them to the house as fruit for us. So I remember that when he would bring those, I will watch his and my grandmother's, hand nails, toes on the fingers, and they will be all, they will have wounds on it. And the other incident that I remember was once my aunt's husband, my buaji, the husband came and he brought some mangoes for us, and the mangoes were very sweet. And so my grandfather asked my mother to save two of them. And next morning, he took me and my grandmother. We went to our fields and we planted those two mangoes in trees. And after for the trees, as we put those seeds down in the ground, I recall my grandmother telling me that my house name was Raja, and he said that, Raja, your children will eat these mangoes. So I looked at him and I said, why not me? And he said, well, by the time you'll grow up, and it takes a long time to grow those trees. So that incident and the connection with my mother's sickness and my father's drinking habits, and that he will come every day, almost every day at midnight. People will bring him home drunk, and so between these three things has pretty much shaped my life, and and that's the difference between our Indian culture and what I would call the Western culture. In our culture, we always plant seeds for the next generation, and that is the continuity of life. So we see our life continuing in our children. So we live in our children. All the things that happened to us didn't happen to us, or we wanted to achieve, we all make sure our children get it. So that's sort of those two incidents, that my mother's sickness and this two mangoes tree story has pretty much shaped my life.
That's interesting. And today's topic, the way we said that, is the life story of Ranjit Saini, right? And is it like so? We'll talk about more in your life story. And what I'm looking for is so how you just talk about your just little background of your family, and then we talk now. My question is, what about your schooling, your higher education, and the sports you played? Because you are you lead since almost 2009, and Persian is one of the most popular sports in South Asian community and the other Commonwealth cricket playing community, right? So what kind of sports background you have? So we'll start from your early school education, higher education, and then your affiliation with the sports.
Well, I come from a place which is known as the nursery of soccer in India. So my village, Mahilpur, this is where many of the national players in the past, or at least state team players from Punjab, have come for playing soccer. The town is named Mahilpur, and the talk is everybody is born with a soccer ball, from that area. When I finished my college from my town, the college itself had a soccer stadium, and we had two other international level grounds of soccer in that college. We also had a cricket pitch, and there was only one. I largely, during my college times, I largely played badminton actually, and then I played some cricket also, but most of the time represented my college team in inter-college badminton tournament. Also was captain of the college cricket team. Thereon, I went on to do my professional qualification in instrument technology. There also, I continued to play cricket and also badminton. But a lot of it was badminton, and cricket was pretty seasonal game. But we had indoor badminton courts in this place called Indoor Swiss Training Center. And this is where I took my diploma in instrument technology and post-diploma in die and mold making. So I graduated in 1975 from this college. It used to be very famous place to go and study. There was a all India level competition to join this college, and thousands of people will apply each year, and 500 people will approach 80 to 100 for 5 days. The applicants were interviewed, they went through certain tests, and only 80 seats were there. So I was lucky one of them, and I was happy to finish this training. And during my training there, I continued to play badminton and cricket.
So there's a question, quick question is like, they want to know like how long you played cricket for?
Well, I believe from, I would say, grade 9, so 3 to 5, and for 9 years I played as a youth, prior to my marriage.
Okay.
9 years, yes.
And you, as I remember too, like when I was growing up and playing cricket, so in the very first couple of years, I was just only good for either doing a substitute fielding or bringing water to other boys. So like in the early, you always have those kind of things. So
well, you were at least not rolling the pitch.
Oh yeah.
So in our times, there used to be this big, huge hand roller, which all the new, players that wanted to come to the team, they will have the luxury of rolling this huge roller. And we had this big, thick jute, pitches. They were very hard to carry. You didn't have rollers, you didn't have trolleys, and the life was hard, and you feared the coach and you feared the captain. So it was good behavior training before you were allowed to hold the bat. Before you came into the playing 11. Yes, water and rolling of the pitches and all that stuff.
I guess I was not strong enough to roll the pitch, so I was like just stick to the water and all that stuff. So
yeah, I made pitches in my college life. Like that was 74. 74 and 75, so I would be 17 and 18 years old. This is since then I was rolling the pitches. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So when that part is done, now like that's like you did your schooling and you start working and everything. So when and how did you came to Canada, right? It's like how many like what made you the okay, let's go Canada, right? And then when you come here, how was your early life, and then how you got connected to cricket? Because when I moved to the States for schooling, everything, for 3 years I had no idea there's cricket or anything like that. After 3 years, I find out I can play cricket. So what about you?
Well, the motivation to move to Canada was my mother, and I wanted maybe in a foreign country like Canada or somewhere. If she comes with me at some time, there could be a treatment for her, she suffered in her life. She would fall in the stairs, she'll fall in the street, she'll fall into fire. Once I came to Canada and then I was here, and then I had already talked about my father's drinking habits, and my other brothers also left the house to study, and my younger brother went to Iran and so forth, and the youngest one was studying elsewhere. My mother actually fell into the wooden stove, and her right ear was burnt, and her shoulder was burnt also, and then in that wound she got connected like this, and so she took a surgery in PGI Chandigarh, and doctors were not wanting to do her surgery because they were afraid if she got a fit during the surgery, then she will not survive. Lucky as she survived, and so that was the prime motivation. I was doing pretty well in India, career-wise. When I graduated from that college, I had 9 job offers. So I worked in India for 3 years before coming to Canada, and I was promoted 3 times. I started as a technical assistant in Aisha Tractors, and when I came to Canada, I was a production services manager in a tractor company. And a lot of people reported to me, and I started there as a tool room engineer, but eventually I was looking after the design, and a whole lot of other things, company that manufacture tractors. So my mother was the prime motivation. Obviously, others will also come later, and now my uncle is here, my aunt is here, um, yeah, and their siblings, their children are here. So almost everybody is here, except my younger brother who's left behind. So the idea was to pull the family out of poverty, was to come to Canada or US or Australia, and so I happened to get to Canada first. So in 1982, I landed and came to Vancouver. From 1982 to 2003, I really didn't know what was happening in Canadian cricket. So in 2003, my children went to India for the first time. And very interesting story that when they were being taken to India, they were very leery about going to India. And because of all these stories about the pollution, flies, and lack of washrooms and so forth, because anybody will come and tell them. So they didn't want it to go. But I was surprised when they returned from India. They were wearing shirts. I love my India. I was pleasantly shocked. What happened to them? Whether like the change they went through, and they connected with their roots. They're both born here. My daughter and my son. They're both born in Canada, and so they connected with the roots. And the Pakistan had just come to India and gone back when they were in India. And this was a return visit by Pakistan after India had visited Pakistan after a very, very long break. India and Pakistan, they always have these, 10-year plus breaks after every conflict when they don't visit each other. So it was almost like a festival time, and cricket was everywhere. I mean, it was enormously happy event when Pakistan came to India after so many years. So they, the way they watch cricket there, a neighbor will put up a TV in their front lawn, and So all other neighbors come, and somebody's making tea, somebody's making pakoras and all this other sweets, and it's almost like a festival time. So the kids got onto this, and the entire village really welcomed them, because myself with other few folks and I led that project. We had just built a 62 feet long, 17 feet wide and 14 feet high, three-span concrete bridge for the village. And by donating money and having, creating a committee to do it, and in working with the Punjab government, we built that bridge, and my family, my uncle included, myself, and my father, and a few other people that are here, we had contributed reasonably well, and we built that bridge. So the entire village was very happy to see the kids, and so the atmosphere, it was really like they were little kids, and so it was really like going from one arm to another arm. So I mean, they were popular. So kids came back, and they left all their clothing. Both children now had their 4 suitcases full of cricket gear. So every shop they will go to, every time they go to market with my wife, and I did not go at that time with them, because I had this tumor surgery in my left ear, which left me totally deaf on the left side, and I could never hear again. So I was advised by doctors not to take the flight. So I was here, but when they came back, what a change it was. All of a sudden, they had very positive and good vibes about India and the people, and all that fear of not having good washrooms or flies and mosquitoes and all this stuff, so yes, so that my kids' connection with that they developed with their roots and cricket in India, turned me back into cricket. So I, by holding hands of my children, I took them both into a cricket ground here in Malton, and then they joined Derek's Academy, Ontario, which is known as now Ontario Cricket Academy. That's where my son started. And so we started from there, and then in a Malton Cricket Club, where I would go with my son whenever there was a practice in the evenings. So the club people asked me if I would look after the junior program, because I was there anyways and I had cricket background. So I became a junior coordinator for the club, and began to look after the practices of the under 17 and under 15. And the first year, that was the year when Toronto District Association started the under 17 program. So they had under 15 before, and they had under 19, but then they felt that there was another bridge program needed in between, because there was a 4-year gap. So they started under 17. So in this under 17 league, for the first year, my club was the champion, and that was my early success story. So my team was the champion in the first year of the Toronto District League under 17 program when I started. So that sort of brought me into cricket. Then I happened to run into my good friend Muhammad Sheikh. And Muhammad Sheikh then recruited me. I mean, I say this with a lot of respect to him, and so he recruited me for TND board elections, and me and him then worked together, and so Muhammad Sheikh then becomes the president of TND after basically me and him, with the help of others, we we ran this program and election, and our slate won. So that sort of put me into I don't know if cricket management volunteer position, and so that was the beginning of a this long life in cricket administration. I mean, which is now, I would say that word must pronoun if I could be a year or two wrong, but this could have been year 2007 or 6 when I became TND board member, and then same year then I became a Maple Leaf president, Maple Leaf Cricket Club. So in the Maple Leaf Cricket Club, when I was the president, we in one given year we had the pleasure of hosting 4 full members. So West Indies came in a tri-series. Tri-series was played between Bermuda, Canada, and West Indies. Full team. Chris Gale became, was the captain of West Indies team. This full team, not B team or C team or A team. This was West Indies team. So we played a tri-series with them one day, and we hosted that tournament. That tournament sort of opened the eyes and the mind to the commercial potential of teams. So we have these matches happening in Maple Leaf, and without our knowledge and without us advertising for the matches and anything, hundreds and thousands of people come to watch these matches.
Sure.
And we didn't even had arranged water for sale. And this is a hot day. It's a one-day series. 3 teams are playing with each other, and then a final was played. But we could not anticipate. We could not foresee this kind of crowd coming to watch these matches. And but nevertheless, we hosted those tournaments very successfully, and it was a very good experience. One of the incidents, the incident I recall from the series is the roller broke on the pitch on the day of the match, and so we phoned the roller company and asked them to come, and they wanted a deposit. That's to credit card. So because the way the situation was always that you'll pay from your own credit card or cash or check, whatever somebody is ready to accept, and then you take a reimbursement from the organization as and when the money is available. So the roller broke and my credit card is full and I have no money, and then I call a few people around. Mohammed was a lot of support in that tournament. We put on those new side screens. We had to improve the infrastructure, washrooms, and all this stuff. So. But nevertheless, so I have no money in my pocket, and the roller breaks, and the match is supposed to start in an hour and a half. And the roller servicing company is ready to come, and they say, "Okay, we'll come and help you, but we need a deposit." So I remember from Vikings. Someone from Running, I'm just forgetting his name. Bhavan Prasad. Bhavan Prasad, the one Vikings Cricket Club, gave his credit card. I was actually weeping, crying. Now what I do? I don't have money, nobody there with money, nobody with their credit card. What I'm going to do? I try my relatives, some friends that I could reach, but so Mr. Prasad gave his credit card, and the roller worked. So it sort of developed a sense of as to what it takes to run a tournament,
Yes.
and that you need to have that backup, extra money, because things can go wrong at the 11th hour. You're not going to call a board meeting at that time to
Yeah.
you need to do what you need to do. So that was one of the early learnings to do this, and then it was followed by quadrangular, with which Pakistan's full team, Sri Lanka team, and Zimbabwe came, and Canada participated. So then we did that tournament after that, which then at the end, there was a lot of damage to the grounds, which of course we did not foresee that will happen, and we were fooled by someone locally, that I bought insurance for this, and he showed us the insurance, and we didn't know. I mean, who knows what insurance covers or not? Oh, here's the insurance. It's liability insurance. It will cover damage. Blah blah blah. And then the ground gets damaged, and the insurance company says, well, I mean, if you're running the heavy equipment on the ground, what else you expect? You needed to be careful, and this is not a peril we cover. So we end up with all that problem after that. Again, we are discovering as we go along, because we're volunteers. None of us done all this before. So there was a lot of problem because of that damage, and then of course a whole lot of other things started with it. We sort of that was very, very difficult to deal with.
Yes. So the program is the live story of Ranjit Saini, last page or the new chapter. So we are almost half mark of our allocated time. So this is very interesting to find out what goes behind the scenes. So let's move on to your first term as a president, right?
Well, I was elected as a first vice president first,
Okay.
and Mr. Ben Sanik he was the president,
Mhm.
and so around this time, I think in June, he decided to retire, and July 1st, 2009, I became the acting president. Many people joked and they said actor president. And so this is when I took over. I had a history of running the quad, history of hosting tri-series, and
So what are the defining moments you will say in that period, the first time you took over Cricket Canada, and run it under your administration?
I think there was when I became the first vice president. Ravan Murthy also came to Cricket Canada at that time. Charles Pace came back from he used to be in Cricket Canada before, so he came back again as treasurer. So two incidents I sort of three incidents I would say are prime in my mind. So our team was in South Africa for the qualifier, and our players during the tournament, after doing certain matches, decided to demand a bonus, and while they were in the tournament. So that was sort of that if they qualified, they want some bonus from Cricket Canada. During the tournament, I found that behavior was odd, if not bad. But I wasn't mature enough to comment or get affected by it. But that behavior continued from there on, and so that was something I did not like, and we're not anti-players, but I felt that was very, very bad. That you are in a tournament and you're playing well, and next thing you know is you sort of get a message that either pay us or else. I don't know if exactly this is what it was, but they demanded bonus while in South Africa. Then Mr. Ben retired after that, and then I was able to, put together of course, along with the help of the board, Mr. Charles Hayes and Raven and so forth, of a tour to India. Only time Canada has toured India was arranged at that time. So we went from city to city in India, and we played in the grounds where we were to play the World Cup. So that was sort of a very, very defining relationship that we developed with the World Sports Organization, which is now called Sports Center, and we continue to have that relationship. So that was the second part, and I would say the third part was we were able to get. There was quite a bit of controversy at that time, also in Canada. Mr. Atalahuja had been let go by Cricket Canada. There was all sort of sponsorship issues. Scotia Bank had parted with us, and so I was able to get a whole lot of sponsorships at that time. Base Batteries from Bangalore sponsored our team. Reebok came on board. Etihad Airways came on board. Teachers Whiskey came on board, and there's one local hall, banquet hall, also sponsored us. So those are the ones I recall now, and there might also. So the total benefits were to Canada were in few $100,000 in a direct and indirect sponsorships. So thereafter, when we went to the World Cup, our team was our players that had Pakistani origin were not getting the visa to go to participate in the World Cup. So there was some pressure to change the players, coming from here and there, and I finally wrote a private letter, to the ICC president, who was also a minister in the Indian government, and I literally told him, "This is it. This is my team. This is our team, and they are Canadian players. They live here. They have no criminal history, and if India doesn't want to give them visa, we will play with the players that we will reach India. So if it's 9, so be it. Maybe the coach will play whatever ICC allows, but we are not changing the team." And so that was, I believe, one of the strongest statements that we ever made to anybody. We tried not to make it public, but I think eventually it leaked out.
Yeah.
So that was a moment, I think, where we stood up for the first time and we said, we are Canadians. We're not Pakistanis, we are not Indians, and we are not West Indians, and this is what we are.
Well, that's a good gesture, and any administrator, at that level, should have done that, and you did pretty good. But if I remember around that time, you guys, Cricket Canada or the administration tried to launch a league series at that time. I think that was the exact that time frame area.
Yeah, just during the World Cup, I ran into someone in Bangalore, and who had some official position with an IPL team from Kochi. That franchise does not exist, Kochi, and that franchise does not exist anymore. And we we began to develop the first blueprint of having a, a commercial league in Canada. Um, that conversation went quite far, and then Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, I believe West Indies. Um, I think I had this. We had the support of at least these four, and then we actually will have letters in my file somewhere to prove it. And I was supposed to then go to Pakistan to finish up. We were looking for at least full members to start our league, and we were very close to it. And our AGM came, and I was no longer the president after 2012 AGM, and that project just died with my exit. I don't know what happened after, and I was that fast,
So
but
you just
we were.
talked about the exit, like so your term, your first term presidency.
Yeah,
Uh,
it ended in 2012. There was a tie vote. The AGM occurred in Vancouver. There was a tie vote. Some may contest it, but that time President was the chair of all meetings, membership meetings, and he had the tie vote, tiebreaker vote. And but for whatever reason, that time I do not want to go into that conversation, um, but eventually we had a toss, and my good friend Revan Murthy won the toss, and he became the president, and I did not exercise my tie vote. So I came out, and I know a year later, I look back and I realize it happened for good. My diabetes had gone very bad at that time. I had already lost my middle toe on my right foot, which was amputated because of bad diabetes. So, I was able to improve on my health, and I was very much able to set up my current business, and peace returned to my family because I started to work. so, so it gave me a break, and
so
I think for me, personal level, it happened good. It happened for good.
yeah.
But I do believe and I honestly believe this, for Cricket Canada, it was a bad moment that I did not come back as a president because the league project died. And we did, Afghanistan became the full member and not us. There was every possibility that Canada and Ireland would become the full members. So there
So,
are
so did you ever wish
the
that
theories,
ever wish,
but
Mr. Saini, did you ever wish that for that toss thingy, you ever had a double-sided coin with you, and you could have stayed and worked more for the Cricket Canada? And
no, Farrukh. I honestly believe everything that happens in your life is always for good.
okay,
Always for good. I mean, even if I continued, if I was the president, and things may have still gone bad, and because after I was no longer there, was a lot of many players retired, and there was a lot of change in the team, and we went through a few coaches, and bad experiment with one particular coach, and so forth. But overall, I would say, at that time I was very unhappy about it. I cursed myself. Why didn't I use my vote that I had? Why didn't I insist that I have the vote to break the tie? And why didn't I vote myself?
yeah.
But looking back now, I think I look pretty good that I did not exercise my tie vote and I allowed God to decide for me. So what was good for me, and I didn't let the people that supported me down. I mean, to
So
say at that time.
good. So my question is, so like after you exit as administrator from the Canada, where did the cricket go? Was it consistent? Did it go up, go down? What is your review? Right, I'm not asking for somebody to vote, but also what can you say? Like when Canada did not become the full member, right? Afghanistan and Ireland become the full member. What could have done to Canada to become a full member?
You see, first of all, when I was the president and when I was running around and speaking with people about, people, those who were effective and had some influence, I can say that I will not name them, but I can definitely say that there was enough interest and understanding with key people that Canada will become full member, along with Ireland. If Ireland was to go become full member, then we would become. There was pressure from Ireland, and we were not organized, but we were organized enough that we were better organized and more organized, and we were almost at the same level, and we had to go on to the World Cup more times than Afghanistan, that we had a better say to become a full member. So I had those conversations with key people. It's not appropriate to many of them have moved on, and it's not appropriate to start a new controversy or discussion on it. But we could have made a better case than Afghanistan for full membership. And thereafter, ICC came up with something called TAP funding. And then when I was no longer the president, I believe Cricket Canada made an effort to get that funding. We were not given that funding despite our performance and going to World Cup so many times. We were not given that funding. The high performance money that Canada got, we were told, or we submitted, whatever that reason was, to start this so-called some national league, in which national players were distributed in different teams taken from other players in the country, and we were told to play in that one, start that one, and that's what was approved. And whereas other countries received $1.5 million or so, around a figure like that, and I don't know exact, other countries, and they were told to go and play with FMs and A teams and B teams and the other full member countries and get ready for the World Cup, whereas we were playing among ourselves and training to go to the World Cup. If I had continued to be president, I would never let that happen. Maybe we won't get the funding, TAP funding, but I would never waste that money on that league, because the first priority of the National League of the Cricket Canada has always to be to develop and fund and support high performing team. Once your team wins, is a team winning, and there's a good there's a good rapport with the media, because your win brings attention to you, media and sponsors and so forth. The rest moves by itself. If your team is not performing, nobody wants to take a picture with you. No politician wants to come and visit your match. Every sponsor is saying, okay, what is it for me? How many people are watching your game? If you're not performing, who is watching? Nobody is watching. So the having proper funding for the organization is the first towards building and supporting athletes and so forth. So it becomes more easier if the team is performing. So that, I think, was the critical problem that occurred in that time. And now, mind the way, I'm not criticizing Mr. Muti or anybody else for the board members that were that time, because post-mortem is always easy. And you can come after and say, this wrong, because now history proves it actually went wrong. So, but the people, those who are in that situation, are better placed to give you what was done, for what reason it was done, and what were the causes. So the decline started there. Our competitors received a lot of money to prepare, And any money that we had from HP program was wasted in this national league, which did not produce anything. Development programs, if you have nothing before and you have nothing after, it's no development program. Development program is a continued loop, which leads you from here to here to here to here to there. So kind of starting programs that have no good beginning and no good end. There's no objective, and there's no analysis whether we achieve the objectives. It means nothing. So I think this is where the decline started, and also in the backdrop of all this is also the certain culture that developed from South Africa, where the players demanded money during the World Cup qualifier. That has stayed us for a very long time. That culture is somewhat gone. We have more enthusiastic players that want to play for the country now. And now and this players up here and there. But I'm not saying players do not deserve good compensation for the time and efforts they spend. But there is a part. That part demands women programs, youth programs, under 19 programs, school programs, and all on the national championship, under 19 program. So that money is goes all over the place. So if your team is not performing and there are no sponsors, and it's hard to bring sponsorship on top of it, you have all sort of controversies swirling around you. It creates a scene where getting resources is difficult. So the lack of funding and lack of prioritizing is what has led to this current situation. But now, is the current situation as bad as it was? I don't think so. I think we have a team that is competitive, that if given few more opportunities to play high performance matches against good competition, if they, I think our team is at a
Okay.
stage now that it will perform.
Yeah. My question, just to bring a quick. I just need a quick reply from you. Like, we have like very good team. We always have a very good team, right? Very potential, is very highly rated from all these the teams which is not qualified as a full member. But what are the reasons why we can't qualify? You know, just as you're sitting on the top of the organization, what is your view? I just need an honest answer. Like, what are the reasons we can't qualify? We trying some is just bad luck, or is just like how does it work? We are very hopeful. We think we got it. We win matches, but end of the day, somehow we don't qualify.
I would say, first of all, I want this to be very clearly understood that that any impression if you get from my conversation that players are to blame is wrong. Um, I think at the end, the board, the management is what needs to take responsibility for what has gone wrong. I give you two key things for loss in the previous qualifier. We went to Sri Lanka for training. In a public address at Yashi Sport, all players available, everybody was clearly told that the tour was mandatory. And a player chooses not to go. We come back. What happens in Sri Lanka? The overall tour was very good. But because the tour was arranged in a rush at the last minute, because West Indies could not host us, and so forth, the competition overall was not enough to test the performance in the ground against a competitive team. So we had the teams were not enough competitive, but yet when they came and everybody was asked about the opinion about the tool, everybody was happy with the arrangements, with the training and everything. And yet I was hearing here and there that competition was not good. Okay, so I accept that. And then when the team came back, before they went, there was discussion. Why don't we go 1 week later, and instead of bringing the players back to Toronto, we take the players from Sri Lanka direct to South Africa and then to the qualifier, and we go 1 week late, and we sort of don't waste money on coming back. But then the opinion came that it was important to give players a break, and they come and meet with their families, they calm down, and they have a normal life, and then we send the players to South Africa. One player jumps off the plane in Sri Lanka, decides not to come. And then that player comes here a day or two before, I don't know exactly, to go to South Africa. So imagine this 24 hours flight to come to Toronto, and then another equally long flight to go to South Africa, and then very tough schedule and training and competition in South Africa. What do you expect from this player to perform? How would this player perform in the qualifier? So two reasons, and we lost the qualifier with few decimal places of the run rate at the end. And our opening bowlers could not penetrate the opposition. At least 3 centuries were made against us by the opposition, openers. And none of our openers was able to do that. So the idea then is, and in one of the matches, Navi had a century. I'm not sure if he went in as a opener, but nevertheless, more centuries were scored against us. Every match you see, every match you look at it, the boundaries, whether it's fours or the sixers, they are more and more. The ratio of those boundaries and sixes against us is higher. Bad fielding. So the overall picture, once they end up in South Africa for the qualifier, and the performance is not there. So, and in the opening area, both of those players are there, whether as a bowler or whether as a batsman, right?
Yeah.
And then there was this, I know the person is going to jump in on his Facebook and criticize me for saying this. It is not that person's fault. There was some sensational media coverage of what was happening in qualifier. Media has a right to do whatever they want. But our players at 1 o'clock at night, and they have a match next day morning, were watching this show. And I have recordings of this, that you have a match in the morning, and it's 1 o'clock at night, why aren't you sleeping? So the management control, the people that are on ground at that time do not have a control, and the players are not in a mood, not enough ready mentally that they were there to compete or they were there to perform. So whose fault is it? Is it players or is it the management? I would say management. It was our failure that we could not get the players to concentrate enough on the core objective of the tournament, and that was to qualify. So it is not, somebody will say, I blaming somebody show this. No, no, I'm not. I'm saying at the end of the day, you have to ask for every failure 5 times why. At the end, the thumb will point to you yourself. So it was cricket kind of failure, or board failure, whether we didn't have proper staff with the team or proper motivation of the team to make them mentally ready to concentrate for one core purpose of that tournament, which was to qualify. So this is what this is something has bothered me immensely. I'm deeply hurt by it because that was the day, and I had told players in a meeting. You may or may not have been there. We had a dinner, here on the airport road with the team partying. I was hoping they'll qualify, and I was hoping after receiving the team after qualifying, after they qualify, when they come to the airport, I will say, "Ranjit, you're done." I wanted to, and players knew that it was my intention to retire after qualification, and I would say, okay, Ranjit, this is it. Cricket is where it should be, and enough.
Yeah.
But
That,
then other things happened, and so now, and I felt that I had to last a little longer.
as the topic of today is this the last page or a new beginning? We will come to that. We were going very rapidly towards the end of the program, but there is some very important questions still left on my plate, which I really want to ask you before I let you go. Is so okay. We talked about all this, and then so what's since then? The qualifier, the West Indies tour, and then the most importantly, like what can be done to create a better environment for the team. What can be done? What's your thought about
Okay,
that?
okay. So as I told you, I have an engineering background,
Okay.
right? And I have a very methodical approach to analyze things, and a methodical approach needs to first you need to put together all the facts. What's the volume of the higher level of matches that our team plays? So our players don't get enough number of competitive matches. Our players don't get high competitive matches to play. So the basis of our judgment as to who is in the team to begin with is wrong. Is one thing to play, go to some, 5-team province or 14 province and play a match and hit few hundreds in that one, and then come back showing big cups and so forth. But you need to you ought to be able to perform against a competitive uh, opponent in order to show what worth you are, and then you have to show consistency in your performance. Not you hit 4, 5, 6s, and then everybody's cheering for you, and then you don't do anything for next 4 matches, but you continue to take glory because you hit few sixes in 2011 World Cup, and it's only 220, so it 2020 and it still applies. No, that's not the case. I think the consistency of performance averages, and it's important. So to reach there, I think the culture of the training of developing consistency, accuracy, and fitness has to begin very, very early in an athlete's life. Canada has a world famous, and many countries have adopted this program, altered, that is, long, some say lifelong, and others say, the long-term athlete development program is a world famous program which Canada developed. Some have adopted it with some. So we need to follow that. We need to understand that developing a athlete is a process. Now, before the under-19 went, we had some camp here with the current coach that took the team to West Indies Super 50, Amrinder Binder. And I happened to go there a couple of times, and I put some tests for consistency and accuracy of the under-19 players. The best average for accuracy of the fast bowlers and the spinners was 55%. So in any given over, they will likely throw 3 loose balls and cause boundaries or multiple runs. How are you going to win? How did they reach and end up at that level that they are prospects to be part of the national team? So this whole system, academy system, and the HP system needs to be revamped, and we need to define what it takes to be in the HP program or at the national program, and that has to be uniform across the country, because opportunities for athletes, those who fall in the acceptable category of consistency and accuracy and fitness, has to be same throughout the country. And thereafter, Cricket Canada should take over in a national HP program. Things such as maybe we will start in Toronto, a high performance league. Cricket Canada should run it, 4 or 6 teams, but we need to get the grounds for it. And where every weekend there are matches between high performers, very high level of athletes from the country, throughout the country, and with foreign players in it. That is something we need to create, because our season is short, and then a lot of cricket that is played in the country is where players that are competing at a very high level are wearing, some of us are wearing pacemakers. I mean, we do not have competition at this moment in the country. The infrastructure. Now, I just talked about previously I said about the pacemakers. Now, in Maple Leaf, I'm told that no more than 4 or 5 overs are given by the fast bowlers or medium pace bowlers, who they are, because the pitches are only fit for spinners. So, is Maple Leaf expected to pay for upgrades and maintaining those pitches better, that even fast bowlers get an opportunity to throw 10 overs? I think Cricket Canada wants to prepare its team. We got to participate in it, and so that investment has to take place. So creating infrastructure, creating those competitions where players play against good players and players play alongside good players is important. I sent you prior to this to our conversation starting, Cricket Canada development policy. I think it's on Cricket Canada website.
Yes.
Policy number 19. Now, it talks about all this. I wrote that policy. It's board approved, but I wrote that policy a few years ago. Right? So, if you look at thoroughly the processes in it, the idea then is to, unless your domestic tournament is going to create enough resources, enough competitions for the players to participate in it, they are not going to be ready to play at the international level. Now, international matches, to go on tours, something like India I mentioned too, and or West Indies and so thing, they are expensive. Any tour costs about $140,000. And then, if your players are not on contract, how many times a year they're going to get time off their work to train? So the only solution is we continue with our weekend matches and weekday evening matches and the training opportunities, but we fund local clubs to bring in foreign clubs. We support them to bring in foreign players, those who should be part of their teams, three or four. It's a small league, four-team league or six-team league, and we can pull in players from the other parts of the Canada on weekends to play those matches. Those who qualify, those are in the pool. So we have to create that full season-long competition first. And based on the performances in those competitions and probably the summer festival, you will then you'll be able to select proper players. So that opportunity is not available to our players. To do all this, you need resources. So because you're not going to get any money from ICC, it looks like every time I see they turn around and find ways to give money to the US. Okay, good. No jealousies, but why we are not given that? And so if they are not giving, we cannot continue to complain. We have to find ways and means to support ourselves. So we went and created GT20 to bring in resources, to create opportunity for our players to play. And so that was part of this overall plan in which GT20 will then create awareness in the industry about cricket, which there is. Governments are listening. Cricket has become part of the official curriculum in Ontario. Other provinces will follow soon. So the awareness created by Global T20 is then becomes a stimulus for sponsors to participate and for the governments to take notice and create a general interest. So now you're going to be able. I mean, we got hit by COVID-19, and is another issue, but nevertheless, the atmosphere to fund the national team of this cricket is now exists.
So I have a question. This is my personal question, and probably a lot of people have this question. Is so you talked about contracting people in. I think there only once we contracted players for the whole duration and things. So what are the main reasons we cannot have players on contract? Because I talk to people, they're really nice players, they're coming all over from the world, were first class players, but they can't play on weekend because they have to work, right? So what are the reasons we can contract good players, so there's some amount of money coming, so they can put more time towards
Okay.
playing cricket and everything. And then second question is, so you talk about this small competition, like the small leagues. What happened? Did that idea ever get pitched in? Because I really like that idea, but then what happened? Did it ever work? Or is it something?
But you see this is the after you have created a steady funding to support these projects. When there's steady funding is there, and there's a corporate interest and there's a government interest, now you also not only have to start this, you also have to be sustainable. So let's do small little math about contracts, right? So let's say you'll select minimum 13 players in for contracts or 14.
Okay.
The minimum money required to live in Toronto or GTA area this time, joint family income between husband and wife, they're married, is $70,000. Once you pay the rent, you have a car, and so forth. So if the player is given bare minimum 40,000, 35, 40,000 at least,
Mhm.
14 player, how much is it? 600,000 a year with the benefits, payroll tax and so forth. Coach, another 100, 7. Facility, indoors and outdoors on the playing, another couple of 100,000 a year, right? So you keep accounting, and then once you have all these players, they have to go on certain tours, 2, 3 tours a year, 3 tours minimum, $140,000 each tour. So once you add all this up, it's from bare minimum need of contracted pool is 1.5 to $1.6 million. Where's the money? So that's the issue. This is why, I'm not saying it's never going to happen. It is going to happen, but you need to start ways and means. Like in our families used to happen. The parents will spend their whatever resources they had on the first child or someone, whoever is, was the more smarter one, to take him through the college, and they find a job, and then it becomes, at least in my case, that was the case. So I went through these courses and these trainings, and then it was for me to help my dad and my family, for my brothers and my cousins and so forth. Right? So if we get to this stage somehow of having senior team budget of what 1.5, if anybody can come up with a math that says okay, you can do in less. The only way you're going to do in less is if you continue what you have, but you import players, certain amount of players that you give to clubs, foreign players, assist them. So the clubs arrange for their jobs, and we fund certain amount of money in having them here. So they then play against our development team as a team, foreign players, and give competition during weekdays or certain weekends. And then they're part of the local club elite team section, and they play in each club teams against each other and along with the other players. So overall environment is rich. You got to start where you can start, not keep hoping to start here and keep waiting a miracle to happen where you win 649 and all of a sudden $10 million drops in your pocket.
Yeah. So I have just one more question, and after that we'll move to the one of the very important segment of this the program. Probably the last segment of the program. My question is like, so you talk about GT20. GT20 is great product. It puts Canadian cricket all over the global map and all that thing. And there's quite a few players from Canadian players are part of the GT20. I think the last time was around more than 30. I don't know exactly.
Last time 30 was minimum as per
minimum. So there was more than that.
But then more were added after.
But I heard this from a lot of players is the compensation they get, right, to spend almost 15, 18 days or 20 days or more with the team and all was very, very minimal. I mean, how can we expect, like they were getting exposure and all that, but still at the same time, if they quit their job or they take a leave, the very minimum amount, how can they survive for a month and a half or something like that?
Okay, a very interesting and very appropriate question, and that is same like Canada. Global T20 is also a baby at this time. The fact that we are able to have it and that we're able to run it is a monumental achievement for Cricket Canada.
And I believe that
the entire board and everybody deserves very higher level of appreciation for it.
No, we have all the higher appreciation.
And the fact here is still, do we get 2 weeks off in a year from work? I mean, the idea here is if you want to pursue work, who is asking you to quit a job for? So the idea is one who is committed will find time. You can't destroy an upcoming league which is struggling because of revenues, sponsorships, and media rights, and so forth, where the local culture is to watch soccer and ice hockey and so forth, and where there's not enough of gate revenues, there's not enough sponsorships available, local sponsorships available, because cricket awareness is not there. Global T20 is going to take time to develop. But does Global T20 has issues? Yes, they do. But is there commitment to Canadian cricket uh, uh, can that be appreciated? Yes. I mean, they've taken massive losses for the last 2 years, and this year they're not able to do so. But at least they have delivered tournaments 2 consecutive years with a lot of appreciation and acceptance throughout the world. So, so this is part of the sacrifice and the part of the structuring of Global T20. Where does this would this money go first? You need audience to watch this tournament, which means you need to attract a lot of star players from throughout the world. And if along with them, whole lot of extra money, a lot of money was paid to Canadian players, would Global T20 happen? It is the part of the same thing. Is the money reasonable? Yes. Everybody is getting a certain amount of per diems every day. Hotel is free. Hotel is given by them. Per diems are there. You're getting all that stuff. On top of it, you're getting certain money to play in US dollars. I think minimum was $5,000, which is 7,500. I would say at the level we are at this moment, that is a lot more than CPL.
Yeah. I like the way you say like the little bit amount of money. So
Yeah, do we want them to get paid more? Definitely. Who doesn't want their players to be happy, right? But in the end, the whole package has to work for the investor and for us. In certain parts of this relationship,
yeah,
and I am very, very in a difficult situation at this moment because I continually debate what I can say and not say in my mind because it will affect the overall. It can affect the overall impression and the branding that they have already created. But there are parts of this relationship I'm very uncomfortable with, very uncomfortable with, and I am at odds with I would say, a large part of my board as well over this. And especially with the player training, the process was supposed to create opportunities for our players to be trained, and it did not happen. Money part is happening because the way it has happened is only because the experience and what it has resulted in, the experience overall experience of revenue generation for global T20 has been a lot more challenging than what was anticipated. So, but this is their responsibility to explain, because we do not direct them
yeah,
to do this, that, or that. They are the ones who come up with these money slots, who is going to get what A contract is, B, C, D, whatever that is. It all comes from them. It is not from us. We cannot be selecting or dictating to Global T20 because it's their money. We cannot be affecting, do this way, that way, because in the end, if the suggestions or the recommendations go wrong, we have nothing at risk. Entire risk is of the investor. I mean, Gurmeet Singh, who is the owner of the league, is an exceptionally dedicated person to this cause.
yes, he is.
So they are doing what they can. So I think it's time to review, where we are and make adjustments that we need to make. But staying within a agreement compliant environment is important because we don't own Cricket Canada. No one does. We are running Cricket Canada in trust for all these players and members and so forth. So we got to stay within our limits.
Okay.
And
So
because
there's no denial that GT20 is have put Canada in a global cricket map, and they're doing a fantastic job. It's I know first year they made a extremely presentable ground at King City was fun. And then last year at the Brampton, they spent a lot of money. I'm not sure, but it was in pretty high millions to put the ground and all the facilities. So they were doing an amazing job. And I know Cricket Canada and GT20 worked together to bring this up. So with that, we'll move to the last segment of our program. It's they say that we got the story from Ranjit Saini. We got to know all your childhood and education and all your struggles and so is it? And then the way we say it, is it the last page or is it new beginning? What it is, Ranjit? A lot of people want to know, like the what's the future going for you, especially with Cricket Canada. So is it a last page or is it a new beginning?
Well, last page happens only once in life, and you don't know it was the last page because I don't think you remember anything after. So I would not say it's the last page, but I do have a few things on my mind. One, I'm 62. A lot of people have concern over my health, but I can only tell them I'm a lot more healthier than the previous year. Last AGM, I had a lot of issues. I had an ulcer in my right foot. When the global T20 started, around that time, I think it was that launch function which happened here in a banquet hall. There was some singer here. I was in hospital that night, and there was a fear that my right foot will be amputated. My whole foot had become red, and it's the same foot where I had my toe removed earlier. But since then, there's been massive improvement in my diabetes, and I'm a lot more fit. I've had my cataract surgery done, and 3 days ago I received my test results, and my doctor is impressed that I actually have my 3-month sugar average at 6.2. I'm able to climb stairs myself now without holding the railing. So yes, I'm low now. The summer has come. I'll make myself more fit. So health-wise, I have no issues. Absolutely no issues. I'm fine. I have lots of time, but I do have a few other things going. The fact is, as I already said, if we had qualified, I would have probably left at that time. But continually, when I think of retiring, there's a new challenge, and there are new issues, and new challenges are come forward, and so forth. So I've not filed for my nomination yet. I think probably today is the last day. I will file my nomination today for re-election. That's one thing I think I want. Under no circumstance to leave any impression that I'm not running. I've asked my colleagues in Ontario for their opinion. I'm yet to hear. And that will have some effect, but not on my decision. And let's see where that goes. So I think tomorrow or day after, whenever that list, whoever has how many people are nominated and who they are, will also affect whether after filing the nomination, I withdraw or not. That's another one. I have some personal projects. My current business, we are expanding to go to a branch system. I have a project called 90 Strikes. And the purpose of the 90 Strikes project is a personal project, on which my own company or sponsors will fund. It's 15-over cricket or a soccer. It could be the tournament could be in soccer, or could be soccer or it could be cricket. Go either way. Soccer is hour and a half, 90 minutes, and 15 hours 90. The reason for selecting 15-hour format is it will be a weekday tournament in the evenings, and we only have 2 weeks when the sun sets around 9 o'clock. So if you start at 20 over cricket, if you start at 6 o'clock, the sunset is around 9:03, 9:04 at night in the evening. That's only 1 week before Canada Day and 1 week after Canada. And thereafter, it begins. Days they are shorter. The sun sets before 9 o'clock. So, and if some tournaments event is happening at that time, then I can't have my tournament. Many of you remember, I had a very successful year in OPL T20. Second year was planned. I invested quite a bit of money from my company, and I also had some sponsorships. But there was some kind of tournament at that time, and so I was sort of put under pressure to cancel it. So I had to return all the money. I suffered many losses. Second year, and then I couldn't start. So now I'm thinking that 90 strikes will be a good idea to pursue, because it will enlarge that window, because the tournament will be able, it's not too small like T10. It's not 3 hours because it's T20. And so it will give me, broaden that window as to when I can have that tournament. So maybe we'll go that way. But that is my personal project. My personal company will, my businesses will do it. Some people know that I also had a clothing brand, and so we rebranding the clothing brand, and my company will start producing those active wear, and and then this tournament will probably will launch that brand. Already had that synergy spiral where we made sports clothing, largely cricket and some other ones, but I think I want to go in a different route now. Because of the millennial craze and youth culture that is developing, is a different kind of concept. So that is underway at this moment. And designs and branding is happening, and then we'll apply for trademark and so forth. Also, my my resort is coming through. So I'm a little bit leery about the resort, and because of the situation with Corona and all that stuff, I'm not sure if this continued to grow, how much of tourism will still be there, what amount, and whether a new business that would need a lot of sales will fly. So I'm putting the pedal down on this. My father, and it comes back to my mother again, and he's 87-year-old. As you know, my father passed away 3 years ago. So now I made a very terrible mistake. When my mother was alive, the long-term come home used to tell that she's very good breakfast. Every lunch, every day, I closed my office and I went there and fed her the lunch. For the 8 years, she was in long-term care home, and she passed away. I'm unfortunate, and it just bothers me every day that I, those 8 years, I didn't have the time. I didn't have the thought. It never came to my mind that I should ask whether my mother eats the dinner or not. I had the resources, I had the time. It just didn't come to my mind. So I want to take care of my dad. And but I have followed cricket from core of my heart, given it so much. And the anguish that I have is that I've not been able to kickstart the HV program. I tried all last year to launch it. Uh, some matter issues in the board, and now Corona have delayed it. I don't want Global T20 to be known as my legacy. Uh, I want the overall athlete development program to be my legacy. And if if there is someone who inspires me and I see that person's placed, I'll be very happy to support this person, assist if asked, happily. So it all comes back to who is running, who is interested. But yes, at this moment, if you ask, I will file my nomination today. And in that chain, a response from my colleagues in Ontario is very important. I do have countrywide a lot of interest in me. Many people have called me, committed, and asked me to stay at the helm, and because all this, the funding, creating funding, creating opportunities, such as we went to West Indies Super 50 and so forth, and I am also Cricket Fest continue to develop, and also this, if I can call our own Super League, where the entire season our players will play against the best from good quality players from abroad, so that local competition grows. Funding, some scholarship, and some funding of the talent that comes through under 19 program, because our pool is not big enough. So we simply have to retain and train what we have. We, unlike India and other places where tens of thousands of players exist, and then it is easy to find the talent. Our pool is smaller. Because our pool is smaller, so we need to find committed ones that will stay with cricket, and we need to find ways and means to keep them in cricket, and then we need to create opportunities for them to become better players. So it's a long process, but I believe the important part we have already achieved. We have been able to create cricket awareness in the country. Governments are aware with Global T20. We have been able to create awareness in the business, right? If it wasn't for Corona situation, the country's largest sponsorship agency, TTG, we already signed a contract with, and they will look after our sponsorship. These are the people, those who took care of the Winter Olympics, recent Winter Olympics in BC, and they raised over $700 million. So those people have adopted Cricket Care. Now we have an agreement with them that they will look after our sponsorship. So we're just about there. I believe we do need leadership and members of the board that that have a vision and that will actually learn and understand that their role is to improve things in their own portfolios. And we have that problem right now. People think that participating in ICC programs and sending team, that's all what we need, or running national. That's not the role of the board. Board members, those who are in charge of developing good officials, good coaches, or grassroots cricket, they need to go and create and train those officials, those coaches, have coaching programs, and have work on the infrastructure and all those things. That is their role. I mean, sending a team to Dubai to participate in a qualifier is not the role of the board. That is operational matter. So, but yeah, the selections are proper and properly done, and they come through a system of competitions, and higher performance is important. So if you do not have a high level competition to select players from, What are you selecting? If the player has not performed under pressure against a good competition and proven his worth, why is he in the team? Why do we change players that we send on tours? They don't play a single match and they come back without playing a match and we replace them. So there is this overall vision statement that board members need to come with. And I think the ownership of the strategic plan has to go back to members. So members need, on a yearly basis, they need to give the task to the board. Here you are, we reviewed you, here we are, we want you to take it to here. We'll check you at this level next year. So that sort of accountability has to be put into the board. I have people in the board that didn't light up a single matchstick throughout the year. What do you do? They're duly elected. So the not saying more than this, but I do accept that at the end of the day, the responsibility comes back to the board, and within the board, it comes back to the president that if this was happening, why didn't you report it? I mean, I had absolutely nothing to do with the players that were selected for Global T20 this year. I didn't even see the list. Yet, one of the senior players who went on this one show and complained about all the things that we wrongly do, wrote me a nasty WhatsApp note and telling me that I should be finally happy that I got him off cricket. And I had absolutely nothing to do with that selection. So you bear all this responsibility of things that go wrong, but you do not know, because there's a culture and there is a responsibility, that at the end of the day, they will say, so you were the president. What did you do about it? So there are constraints everywhere in which a president has to operate. So without saying a lot more, and I want to clarify. Yes, I want to accomplish a few things in my life, but I don't own cricket ground. I don't have to be here. People may want to keep me, but there's another possibility. I could get immigration tonight to the next world. So I can't pretend that I am needed here. I'm in full peace with the reality that I had my time, but in this time, the challenges that we have gone through have only improved the organization, and the organization is where it is now because of the efforts and the cooperation of many, not just the board members, but the board members and the general volunteers all over the place, and the media people like yourself, and then those who criticize us, okay, and them included, because they tell us, we get feelers as to, okay, what we are doing wrong. So it's not, I'm not overly sensitive to those things, but if you love cricket, then you have to watch carefully and control that whatever you say now is number one factual, and the second one, that it has an end objective of helping change things. I read one of the notes recently, and I was told that I flew to West Indies to watch this the CWA 50-over match in business class. Really? It must be my ghost.
You didn't go in business class?
No.
So how come people got the idea?
Only places maybe in a year there's one trip to ICC AGM where I travel in Asia, and it's board approved. It's board approved because I have this very bad condition, with my legs and diabetes, and because those trips are short, No, you land and you're there for a few days, then you're coming back again. At my age, and then with all the situation that I have, most people will do that, right? It will be given by organization to most of it. So there's an approved policy for it, about Canada. I am within my policy, and it's probably one a year. But I bring you Global T20, giving, if it continues to give you, and then they're having difficulties now, but if it continues to give you $1 million, is one trip a year to ICC AGM problem? Really? Right? So the, and whereas there's a possibilities of lot more coming, because after you've been in a position, people begin to trust you. There's a value to the face. Once there's a credibility, once you continue to deliver what you promise and you continue to perform, the people's faith in you broadens. So the people that give this time, and I say this for my predecessors, Vimal Hardat, Mr. Ravanmurthy, and all those, we have had immense experience, and Dr. Jeff Edwards and Mr. Bensanik and so forth. There has to be a forum of retainability where people, those who have come and taken from here to there, there to there, there to there, are continually accessible, and to enrich and support the support. We don't have to be here for lifetimes.
Yeah.
But to blame people for things that don't happen, and a lot of things inside the board are confidential, right? If you start uttering them in public, which something happens, certain things we haven't even discussed yet, and they get out, and we haven't finalized. They're only in the discussion, and one way of people that get back to me was leak it, and somebody post it somewhere, and so it's out before even we finalize it. Right. And so those things are happening, but it comes with the territory. I'm not blaming anybody for it. If you want to put your name forward to as a volunteer to do this stuff, to carry this responsibility, you're gonna have to live with it. As the what the intricacies of what the truth is. So I'm not affected by those anymore, and I really do not care, because every hot news dies after 3 days. So I'm committed to continue, and I'm putting my name forward, and I could still change my mind after I see who else is running.
So it's good to hear that, and a lot of people wanted to know. And I know you always have a very interesting, love-hate relationship with players and board members, not board members, but all the people who love cricket in Canada. So, but it's really good to know, like what your intentions are. And we don't know the nomination. I think today is the last day. So anybody who will be running for any board position, good luck to everyone. And so with that, Ranjit, I'm just gonna thank you very much for your time. This is on the record. This is the longest interview conversation we had for any program for sports trend, especially for the interview conversation. So thank you for your time. As you say, you look fresh. You spoke for more than 94 minutes so far. So I'm just gonna take your final comment, your closing remarks, and with that, we're gonna thank all. We really appreciate, as a sports fan, I really appreciate all the people who are watching continuously for their patient comments, feedback. I want to thank them. And final remarks from Ranjit Saini.
Well, I want to thank everyone who added something to my knowledge. Everyone is unique. Everyone knows something that I do not know. Everyone is better than me, one way or the other. I carry a lot of respect for people that contribute with their suggestions and good wishes and concerns for me. Uh, you know, I've enjoyed my time at Cricket Canada. I wish to continue to enjoy, uh, and I'm looking forward to times ahead in my association with cricket. I have equal affection for soccer as well, so it's in the blood. I was born with it. Um, so within all this framework of my family, business, and so forth, it might look complex, but I'm at ease. I want to thank all the players for the time and commitment they have given to this national cause, and the suffering and the sacrifices they make every day and continue to make. I want to assure the youth, the upcoming athletes, the women, and so forth, that I think we are at a stage where things will change for good, no matter who is at the helm, because the infrastructure and the what is needed to develop the sport nationally has been created successfully by the efforts of the members and the entire board and everybody else. Yes, I would say we need to improve in the governance area a few things, but I think if you look at the amount of work that is done by volunteers in this country is for this sport is enormous. People, I will humbly request everybody to pay some respect and recognition for the work that is done at the provincial level, league level, national level, and then all over the place. People who run this sport, and then also at the end, I also want to offer my very sincerest, heartfelt apologies to anyone who has ever been hurt by things that are done and that affect them negatively one way or the other. At the end of the day, a group of people have all sort of people, and I'm one of those. If my plane crashes on North Mall, I may start making a resort there. I have that kind of personality and paradigm and gene in my personality, but then you're going to need a person like our treasurer Charles Pace, who will say, Ranjit, our objective is to get out safe from here. So there you go. So I think I believe with that thought, I think we are all unique, and then we all need to sort of learn to respect certain things. People are good at certain things, and if we do work in the area where we're good at and what we like to do, excellence comes naturally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, this is the end of one of the programs. People will probably have got a lot of information from here. The life story of Ranjit Saini so far. There is a lot of things to, either with Cricket Canada or in your personal capacity. Good luck to you, and thank you for your time. This is your host Farrukh Siddiqui. Signing off today. We will be back with some other interesting guests. Till then, please take care. Stay safe.
Over.
Bye.